I'd like to welcome all of you to the TAFCE Central Region Leader Lesson session. Our Central Region agents have worked very hard putting together these leader lessons for you, and we hope that you find value within these topic areas. The first group that I would like to introduce is our nutrition and food safety team, and the agent presenting the freezer meals session is Paula May. So I'm going to mute myself and turn the program over to Paula.
Just a second. All right. Hopefully you can see my screen okay, and can everyone hear me? Are we good? Okay. This is a freezer meal prep lesson. We decided that it was still a timely lesson to do for you all, to share, and also to share with you all. Okay. The objective of this is for the learner will be able to plan and prepare meals to freeze for later consumption. And I've listed the materials here. You will be receiving these if you've not already received these, but you'll receive the leader lesson plan, the meal prepping handout, weekly meal planning worksheet, a refrigerator freezer storage chart, also some inventory forms. Also, you will need, if in this, there is an option for you to do a recipe. I'm sorry. I'm the only one in the office at the moment. Anyway, we're just gonna let that go. If you are going to do that recipe, it is storage. You would need some storage containers, freezer bags, copies of those recipes, and the ingredients, of course, to do the demonstration. And this is just what they would look like. I've included this in my PowerPoint. That way, whenever you get it, you would see what it is. That meal prepping is just something that you can have copies of to give to your participants. The weekly meal planning worksheet is really good for you to plan. We're going to be talking about this as I go throughout, but it does make it easier if you do plan the meals that you are going to be having throughout the week. Also have the refrigerator freezer storage chart that gives you the timeline to be able to keep these different foods. Also the refrigerator and the freezer inventory. You keep an updated list of what you have, it'll make planning a lot easier. And then the recipe is the taco rice casserole. So now, as far as the lesson, I know no matter what age or stage of life we may be in, deciding on what we're going to have to eat may be a little difficult. I know it is for my house, especially having children and being involved in different activities. But, or it might just be that I just don't really feel like cooking tonight. But if we take the time to plan our meals and maybe go ahead and prep them and freeze them, it would make it a whole lot easier on whenever we are trying to decide on what's for dinner. So the best thing to do is to go ahead and plan those meals. Get a list, so use that inventory form, get a list of those items that you have on hand. What can I use? What recipes can I make using the foods that I already have on hand? Create that shopping list. What else do I need? Look at those grocery store flyers or those circulars to see what they have on sale. Where do I need to go? And then, of course, go shopping and buy those foods and try to stick to the list that you have. That way you're not over purchasing. Also, then you want to prepare your food. Use that food that you have purchased, that you already have on hand. And then whenever you are preparing the food, you want to make sure that you are following those food safety guidelines, making sure everything is clean, your hands are clean, your surfaces are, your utensils, anything that's the food's going to be touching needs to be clean. And you also want to start with quality ingredients. That will make freezing these foods better, and even also just you're using them right now. You want to make sure that you are using that quality ingredients. Then whenever it comes time to freeze, you want to make sure that you have proper freezer storage for that. You need to take that into consideration whenever you are freezing meals. Do I have multiple freezers as far as do I have the freezer on top of, say my refrigerator? Do I also have maybe a standalone freezer? So you need to take that into consideration as well whenever you are starting to plan these meals. Also is it big enough to store the containers that I have? Is there going to be enough circulation? So you want to make sure that you have that proper freezer space. Consider the type of container that you have. Is it freezer safe? Whenever you do put it in the freezer, you want to make that inventory. You want to use it in plenty of time as well. And again, so know your storage timelines of the food, and that would go back to that list that I had shared earlier. And then whenever it comes time to serve the foods, you want to make sure that you follow your recipe recommendations as far as how can I reheat? Can I cook it from frozen, or do I need to thaw it first? And make sure that you are heating leftover foods or reheating them to at least 165 degrees. So whenever you are doing this lesson, those are some things that you would, that's within the leader lesson that I have shared with you all. And again, you can also do the demonstration of that taco rice recipe. It's pretty easy, pretty simple. And again, that recipe is shared with you. And these are the ingredients that you would have. So it's pretty easy, pretty simple to do. Are there any questions? I'm going to stop sharing my video.
Thank you, Paula, so much for that wonderful lesson description. Do we have any questions for Paula May and the Nutrition and Food Safety Leadership Team? Did anybody come up with any ideas while she was talking about things that they might want to implement during the lesson?
I've done freezer cooking in the past quite a bit. And one of the things that I would probably make sure I mentioned is that just kind of how to I guess the way to say it is I buy chicken and then I do 10 chicken meals or whatever. And so how you can really save a lot of money by shopping the ads to kind of stack your refrigerator. And then if you do beef the next time, when there's a sale, then you'll have the variety that you're looking for.
Great comment, Karen. Thank you. Does anybody else want to share any ideas or thoughts? Paula, thank you so much for sharing your lesson, and we appreciate you. Very timely. Definitely something that we all need to be thinking about, saving money, eating healthier, and planning meals. So we appreciate you, Paula. Our next leadership team is Community Health. And so I'm going to ask Shelby Boyer and Kate McCullough to give us a description of their lesson.
Okay, good morning. Can everybody hear me okay? We good?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right. So our FCE leader lesson that we have done with our health committee is over dietary supplements. We wanted to kind of give you an overview of what they actually are, if you should take one or not, and then what you should do and how they can benefit different parts, such as your calcium intake and things like that. So I guess we can get started with our PowerPoint. Kate, whenever you're ready.
Hey, Shelby, I was going to leave it like this so I could jump to the different slides easier. So
Oh,
we
okay.
have to go through each individual slide and just basically give an overview.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. I just didn't know if we were going through it all or not.
There are quite a few slides. This lesson also comes in a PDF form with, if you would rather just use a script and do it that way and give handouts as well. We also have a handout from the National Institute of Health on dietary supplements, basically the what you need to know about them. So that comes with the lesson as well.
Okay, so like at the beginning of the lesson, there is a scenario for you. This is kind of a discussion point to get things rolling in your group when you are doing this leader lesson or presenting it. So that way you can kind of get acquainted with the topic just a little bit before you dive deep into the lesson. And in our lesson overview, like I said, there's different topics that we're wanting to cover throughout this whole lesson. So especially how the FDA defines a dietary supplement, the effectiveness and the safety of taking dietary supplements. And then if you are over 50, dietary supplements that are good for you and where to find all of this reliable information on dietary supplements. And then of course, at the beginning, we go through each of those. So like, what is a dietary supplement? And on this slide, it kind of explains what it is and what it can contain and how it's even offered to you, whether it's in the form of a pill, a capsule, powder, gel tab. There's so many different types out there. And then some of them are even offered without like a doctor's prescription. And after, did you want to chime in?
I was going to say, I guess I'll just go ahead and do the slideshow since we are going to hit each individual one. I just didn't want anybody to be like, oh, you're going too fast. But this is just an overview, just so everyone knows that.
And then on your next slide, talks about, we'll move on. Yeah, you should take a dietary supplement. But one of the things we want to talk to you about is choosing healthy foods first before turning towards your dietary supplement. But if you are interested or you feel as if you need more nutrients that may be missing from your daily diet, then we encourage you to speak to your healthcare provider. That's just one of the main things that we want to get across to you. So that way they can tell you for sure what to take and what not to take, instead of, Google and WebMDing it, or anything like that. We just want to make sure that they are taking safely as well. And then here's just some information about if you are over 50, some of the main nutrients that are very essential for you, and then sometimes how you need to take more of those. And then after this slide, we will go through every single one of those, such as calcium, the vitamin B12, all of those things. And each slide contains full information about where those different types of minerals are found or anything like that, such as like calcium, is found in milk products, and the general recommendation for women over 50 and how many milligrams they need to take each day. And even not just for women, but for men and any others. Vitamin D is one of them. And then it's kind of the same thing all the way through, just talks about where you can find them at in food products and your general recommendation for all of them. And of course, there is pictures on the slideshow. So if you do use the slideshow this way, it just can show you an example instead of just talking about an example. And it just is the same way all the way throughout. And then we cover after those antioxidants, which are natural substances, and common sources of them are there listed as well. And there's a graphic that's really helpful to talk about how actually antioxidants work, which is very nice. And I guess it's something that most people don't even know, because honestly, I didn't know it as well until I looked at this. So this is a very helpful graphic, and I would encourage you to include it. But anyway, going back, there is the common sources of antioxidants and different ones, such as the selenium and the beta carotene and things like that. And then also there's more pictures, which is really helpful. So that way you can see the food examples where all of these antioxidants are found, such as like your carrots and your sweet potatoes for beta carotene and things like that. And of course, vitamin C, is found a lot in citrus fruits. Then another portion of this is herbal supplements, which is, we all know, is any dietary supplement that comes from a plant. And then there's some common herbal supplements that is listed on this slide. I am not going to attempt to pronounce them because I will butcher them completely. And we all know that we do not want to hear that this morning. But they are listed on this PowerPoint slide. And then after we cover each of like the vitamins and the antioxidants and the herbal supplements and things like that, the big question is, are dietary supplements safe? And this is all kind of, basically we just encourage you to talk to your doctor about it. So this is some of the things that we have found, such as things from the FDA, and if they produce like safe or unsafe products, and just different information that you would need to know when coming to taking dietary supplements. And then Kate, do you want to take this portion? Because I did the first half.
Of course. So after that, it's where do you go from here? So the first section is to learn. You find out as much as you can about the dietary supplement that you are interested in. For example, if you went for your routine, an exam, a visit, and you found out that your calcium levels were low, that's the point where then you would talk to your doctor. Doctor first, I would highly suggest, but some people are comfortable talking with their pharmacist, or they see a registered dietitian to get advice. But as long as you're speaking with a healthcare professional, then they'll lead you down the road of your possible choices for that particular nutrient that you are missing. So do as much as you can to learn about the supplement that you would need to take. And then from that point, it's important to remember, just because something claims to be natural, or it seems on there that it's gonna, relieve every single ailment that you may have, sometimes things, if it's too good to be true, it is. And that's why it's important on that one slide where we were talking about the FDA. The FDA does not regulate dietary supplements like they can for prescriptions or for antibiotics. They don't. When the FDA gets involved is if there have been so many claims against a certain product, whether it's for false advertisement or it is for, the product could be dangerous. I remember back to when Metabolife was a really big weight loss supplement. Well, then people started having heart attacks and heart issues, and that's when the FDA got involved. So just remember, just because something's advertised a certain way does not mean that it's regulated, but by law, they do have to put on there that it's not regulated by the FDA. Of course, tell your doctor, talk to your doctor if you are interested in a certain a certain supplement, a nutrient supplement, because it could possibly, not work with medications that you may be on, and it could cause a greater problem. So it's very important to speak with your doctor, your healthcare provider. And that's also why you want to buy wisely, obviously get suggestions from those healthcare providers, and make sure that you check the science behind it. There is research out there, but as far as whether or not all of these supplements are safe, which protein powder is the best for me, and all that kind of stuff, there are lots of different things that you can read about that. And then it lists more information from all of the departments where we got our information. And there's other sources. And then we have our match game, if you would like to do it this way. It's a little interactive. I like seeing pictures versus reading words on somebody's screen. So what I would do with the group that I'm with is I would tell them that they're going to have two choices of which nutrient this represents the best. And then they could work in teams or individually and keep up with points, but it'll pop up two choices, and then they'll have to, guess which one. And then ta-da, you have your answer. So we go through the different nutrients as far as that goes. But the match game is how the lesson ends. So I think there's something in the chat box, Shelby. Okay. The liquid yogurt with probiotics. An actual probiotic could be considered a dietary supplement, but as far as the yogurt, that is a food. So I'm not sure if we have a dietitian on here that would be able to answer that question in the chat box. But I could definitely look that up or get you the answer while the next group is presenting. All right, Shelly, I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, thank you so much, Kate and Shelby. Y'all did a great job. And as always, we appreciate you all and your efforts. Do we have any questions or other questions for Kate and Shelby, or any ideas that you came up with while we were listening to this description?
Shelly, this is Whitney. And I know a lot of you sometimes are teaching in a situation where you can't use a PowerPoint like that. So you have the script that they did for you. But Shelby talked about how important the pictures are. So a lot of times in that situation, I'll just print out a couple of the pictures. And when I get to that point, I'll just hold that up on just a regular size sheet of paper, like how the antioxidants work. That would be a great thing to print off and just show when you get to that point. So that works really well for small groups where you can't do a PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Whitney. And I know another idea I got from, I can't remember which agent it was, might have been Theresa Allen or Janie Pedigo, but they would print out the PowerPoint, put it in screen protectors, and then put it in a binder. So you could just kind of flip with each one. So that's a great idea too. It is very good to show the photos if there are any in the lesson. So good ideas. Would anybody else like to share?
Shelley, this is Teresa Bell. I may have missed it when y'all talked about it, but will we be sent these PowerPoints?
That's a good question, Teresa. All of the leader lessons as well as the handouts and all of the materials associated with the leader lessons are uploaded on our internal SharePoint page. So all of our agents do have access to those. So it will be up to the individual counties on how they give them to you. If you want them emailed, they could email them to you if you needed them printed. So what county are you in, Teresa?
Williamson County.
Yeah, so just work with Patsy on how you want those. She can email them to you or she can print them for you. Okay, so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, great. Thank you again, Kate and Shelby. We appreciate you all. Our next topic is going to be from our Human Development Leadership Team. And I think that Tracy Hackett is going to be presenting to us today about the new grandmother's cheat sheets. So we're going to turn it over to you, Tracy.
Thank you. First of all, is there any other agents who are members of the Human Development Team on today's meeting? Because if you are, I definitely invite you to, hey, Kristen, yes, definitely. You can put in some of your, the information that was in your cheat sheet. What I'm just going to tell you a little bit, because we took a different approach than doing, and I thought that was interesting that we had the conversation about the PowerPoints. We didn't do a PowerPoint for our cheat sheets because we did a series of 5 newsletters that really, if you're meeting in person, you can make a leader lesson almost out of each newsletter. But we also did a lesson plan so that you can combine those together. And there were a few reasons that we decided to do the cheat sheets. And number one, we had been talking about resources resources for new moms, because we have a lot of new moms in as extension agents, and new moms are not going away anytime soon, hopefully. And new grandmothers, we figured there's a lot of new grandmothers in FCE clubs too. And even if you're not a new grandmother, you may have some information to pass along to new grandmothers. You may just want to update on some information for the next grandchild that comes along, or your daughter or daughter-in-law may be the new mom in your family. And even if you don't feel like you need an update on information, these cheat sheets and in the newsletter form are simple and easy ways to pass along information to other people and share information, and they're good conversation openers. So that is the reason that we formulated our cheat sheets. And just to see if I can share my screen and pull up the leader lesson, and it's really just a short instruction guide that's just a couple of pages. We really wanted to formulate it so that you all could kind of have some freedom to modify it, use the parts that you wanted to, because like I said, almost any of the cheat sheets can be used individually. You can take 15 or 20 minutes and do a short lesson on just one specific newsletter that we formulated. You could take a 30-minute or longer lesson and look through all of them more in depth. What we did look at was being able to recognize and appropriately respond to signs of postpartum depression. We looked at healthy feeding practices. We looked at measures for caring for baby at home and out and about. Participants becoming more aware of managing their relationships as the roles change in the family with new mothers and new grandmothers. And then some interesting gadgets to help make life with baby more organized. And that's something we figured that new grandmothers could benefit from too. So I am going to stop my screen sharing, but I am going to start sharing another page so that Kristen can talk about, she drafted our newsletter for recognizing signs of postpartum depression. And so I'm going to let her talk about some of the information that she found and how that's put together. And I'm going to pull up that cheat sheet for you all to take a look at while she talks about that topic. Okay.
Got it.
Got it. Do you
All
see it, Kristen? I'll
Yes.
let you take over.
I see that. Thank you. So the topic that I chose to write about for the cheat sheets were the postpartum depression. So we know that the baby blues is common and often experienced in the first couple of weeks after the baby is born, but sometimes that can lead into postpartum depression. And I really wanted to touch on that during this time because during the pandemic and the COVID, the rates for postpartum depression has skyrocketed, along with regular depression and anxiety problems. But for any ladies that are that have newborns or will be soon, just be aware that the rates for postpartum depression are a lot higher than they already were. So these are just some things to keep in mind for any new moms that you know. So I went over some symptoms for postpartum depression. So any kind of noticeable change in a personality, mood, or behavior in the new mom. And it notes especially changes that last longer than 2 weeks, or if they increase in intensity over time. That could be signs that she's struggling with postpartum depression. You've got emotional signs like excessive crying, easily angered or irritable, extreme feelings of shame, guilt, sadness, or despair you may be able to pick up on. Some mental signs are involved, inability to concentrate, forgetfulness, easily distracted, not able to make decisions. Physical signs, you've got headaches, chronic fatigue, insomnia, change in appetite, stomach pains. A lot of times our mental anguish can appear in physical forms, with different aches and things. So behavioral signs, social withdrawal from partner, family, and friends, avoiding tasks and responsibilities. I could just feel really overwhelmed with all of the responsibilities that are new, which it's normal to be overwhelmed as a new mom, of course, but once this has turned into actual depression, it can just they feel hopeless, really, and helpless. So like it's never going to end and it's never going to get better. So, and a lot of times some issues, relationship issues, can be stemmed from this. So maybe it's your daughter or daughter-in-law and you've always gotten along really well, but all of a sudden there's more arguing, bickering. You think that she may be trying to keep the baby from you or something. There's something else maybe going on that you want to think about, and don't be afraid to ask. And you can even use the excuse of, hey, I know that postpartum depression, the rates of that is really, really high. So I just want to make sure that you're okay. Is there anything that's bothering you lately? Or just watch out for these signs, because I want you to be safe and healthy, so that you can be the best mom that you can be. But I don't think I covered all of those symptoms. But anyway, lack of interest in activities that they normally are really interested in. Sometimes they may be not wanting to be alone with their baby or afraid to be with their baby. In other cases, it could be that they don't want to take their baby out anywhere. They think that they have to stay home, and the baby can't be around other people. It can manifest in totally different ways, but anything that you notice might be just out of character for that person. And it does go on to note that a lot of those signs and symptoms are broad and they could actually be something totally different. It may not be postpartum depression in the least, but they do need to see a doctor, a therapist, and the postpartum depression does affect different women in different ways. So just keep that in consideration. There's also guidance for parents and in-laws down there. And then the source of where I got the information. So that's just a short little handout on it. And you can take that and expand on it with more. Like Tracy said, if you wanted to make that a whole lesson in itself, it's actually doable. And I can even provide some more information if anybody's interested in that. But as to combine them together, like we've chose to do, that's just a little part of the cheat sheets.
Yep, that was a good overview, Kristen. And you can see from the cheat sheets, this could be a really sensitive topic to bring up. It opens the door if you have had your own experience with postpartum depression when you were a mom. Being able to have a resource like this is something that can be used just to broach that subject of a subject that's hard to talk about. So you can share this with your daughter or daughter-in-law as a way of sort of maybe opening that conversation. You can use these newsletters within your FCE clubs to have conversations about how you've handled these issues as grandmothers, whether you're an experienced grandmother or whether you are a new grandmother. So that's one of the reasons we decided to do the newsletter format, because it just simply seems to make sharing that information with everyone in the family easier. And as human development leadership team, that's one of our goals, is to be able to provide information that keeps everybody in the family happy and healthy. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Tracy. I know that Ms. Linda had added a question in the chat, and she was saying that she was wanting to know how long it can last, and it really is based on the individual person. Typically, postpartum depression is more of like a 6-month process, but usually what happens if left untreated, the postpartum goes into a regular type of depression, Linda. So that was why I was saying, it really could last for a long time because it could manifest into different issues that the person is dealing with. So really, just like Tracy and Kristen suggested, when people are having issues, and most of the time, moms probably don't want to admit that they are having these feelings. It can stem around, them just being sad, like some of the things that Kristen listed, but it also can be directed towards the baby, scared that the baby might pass away or scared that the baby will stop breathing. All of those issues can be considered postpartum depression. So talking to the pediatrician is probably the first step because they're going to, that's the physician that they're going to be talking with mostly. So I think this is a great lesson or series of cheat sheets. I think y'all have done a fabulous job on this. And I guess, since I have little children, it probably, hits home a little bit more for me. Does anybody have any other questions or comments or ways that you might use these cheat sheets? One suggestion I do have, as Kristen and Tracy were talking, is that, some agents probably get asked to do presentations out in the community. And of course, we're definitely not suggesting you do that, especially if you don't feel safe. But when you do feel safe to do so, these would be great topics that you could present to parent groups or pregnancy centers or things of that nature. We're always looking for people to help. And you all are our volunteers. You are capable and qualified, and many of you have these experiences. And so we definitely want to take advantage of your help and extra manpower to get the education out to our communities. So thank you so much, Kate and Tracy. Great, great job. Our last leadership team that I'd like to recognize is our consumer economics team. And the Scams and Schemes Don't Be Fooled lesson will be presented today by Miss Elaine Watkins and Kimberly Davis. So I'm going to turn the show over to you all.
All right. Thank you, Shelley. Let me share my screen. And again, our lesson is titled Scams and Schemes Don't Be Fooled. And the reason why we thought this lesson was so important is because just about every time I turn on the news, I hear a story about someone being scammed. The lesson is to provide learners with information and resources that will enable them to recognize the telltale signs of a scam so they can avoid becoming a victim. Participants will be learning about a variety of scams, including which kinds of information scammers look for and how that information can be used. The objectives of the lesson are the tactics that scammers often use, the most common types of scams, how well-known scams are carried out, how to protect yourself from scam attempts, where to go to get more information about scams, including updates and alerts, and what to do if you are scammed. We also have a PowerPoint presentation, and you can either use a computer and a projector, or you can print the copies off for your participants as well. Now, Kim is going to go over a few slides from our PowerPoint presentation.
All right. It will just take a second there. All right, they are up. So the first slide that we're going to discuss is going to be the tactics, the telltale signs of a scammer. So they are the following. If you receive an unexpected request to do something, to make an action, if there's a promise of a prize or a reward, or if there is a threat, something detrimental. If there's a sense of urgency, because oftentimes scammers are using the tactic of trying to get you to react without you actually taking the time to think it through before you jump into it. So to be able to look before you leap is really important. Oftentimes there is a requirement of a payment that is untraceable and unrecoverable, where you may not be able to regain the funds that you lost. And if something is off, trust your inner instinct, trust your wisdom. If something is off, then oftentimes there is a scam, and these are the warning signs. So the next slide that we'll talk about are the common types of scams. And they are familial identity theft, where family members are often the perpetrators in this case, grandparent scams, Medicare and Social Security scams, home equity loan scams, tech support scams. We mentioned some people who were there. We heard of some people reporting that their emails had been hacked. Sales scams, donation and charity scams, and phishing scams. And just like regular phishing, the electronic version of phishing is to get a person to take the bait and to, again, leap before they look. So the well, actually, as Misty is going through the PowerPoints, we give more detailed information where we elaborate a little bit more about the different types of common scams. And of course, as society changes, there's always more scams that are being added. But the other the other slide that we're going to talk about is protecting yourself from a scam. So being vigilant, being abreast, like Missy mentioned, every time she watches the news, there's a new scam. Reading your newspapers, having a healthy skepticism, being a little bit apprehensive is healthy. We don't want to be, distrusting in every situation, but you do need to have that healthy skepticism. Being aware of a sense of urgency when people are trying to get you to act before you have a chance to research and to look into something or to ask questions. Guard your money and your data. Do your diligence. Being educated, which is what this leader lesson is helping you do, and is helping you to educate others in sharing this type of information. So do your due diligence, do your research. Consult with someone you trust, and pay with a credit card, because oftentimes that's an opportunity. They have the guidelines set up where you may be able to regain funds that possibly have been lost, or you can stop the process of the transfer of your funds. So those are the 3 slides that we just wanted to briefly go over as a summary of the PowerPoint. You can use that as a visual. Or again, like Misty said, you can print them out and have them ready if you don't have access to a computer, or someone said that. So Misty is going to go over the next session, which is our activity.
Okay, so once you complete the PowerPoint presentation, you should do the activity. And the activity is titled Gone Fishing. There are 16 questions, and you can break the participants into groups, or you can let them do the activity by themselves, but you should allow them time to complete the activity and then go over the questions. So what we're going to do today is just go over 3 of the questions, and if you know the answer, then you can put it in the chat box. So the first question is, blank is one of the oldest and most widely used methods of scammers to get you to reveal sensitive information that can be used to steal your money, identity, or security. So if you think you know the answer, please put it in the chat box. And the choices are in bold.
And I am watching the chat box, and I see that Wendy Drum has put in the word phishing.
Okay, that is correct. Phishing is one of the oldest and most widely used methods that scammers use. It's important that you watch out for phishing scams. That's because they play a lot of different roles. People are trying to steal your identity. They're trying to steal your security information. So if you can recognize and avoid phishing attempts, then you can help to protect yourself. All right, the next question. Phishers create blank so that you respond before verifying or consulting someone. Again, you know the answer, you can put it in the chat box.
Missy is giving a subtle clue in having that portion of that answer actually is visible. Let's see, I see the word ransomware, but Misty, you want to go ahead and give them the correct answer? Sure. Urgency, I see it now.
That's correct, it's urgency. Scammers know that if you have time to think, verify, or consult someone, then you will most likely realize it's a scam. So it's important that you verify or consult with someone before you respond. Right, one more question. If a federal agency blanks you unexpectedly, it might be a scam.
What was that question again?
If a federal agency blanks you unexpectedly, it might be a scam.
And I see in the chat box, we have the correct answer. It is calls.
Right. If federal agencies if a federal agency calls you unexpectedly, it might be a scam. And that's because federal agencies will rarely call you or ask you to confirm personal information by phone and then discuss information regarding a matter that you're already aware of. So that's our gone phishing activity. In the word box, all of the choices will not be used. And then after you complete the activity, then you can show the participants the different resources that we have provided for you. So Kim's going to show those.
All right. Switching over here. Okay, that is not the one. The other resources that we have provided for you are also the updates where you can go. And most of the information comes from Consumer Action, but we do have some other resources, of course, that we pull. Now, where to get more information about scams, including the updates and the alerts. We have some scenarios here. Say, for instance, if you feel that there is a situation where Medicare or Medicaid is involved and you don't know where to start, here is where you would start. And if there is a case of identity theft, this is where you would go. You know, it's a way to get started and to go to the agencies that would be responsible for helping you to resolve that particular situation. So we give you situations here. And there's also information as to if you think it's something that's international, or if you paid a scammer with a prepaid credit card or gift card, is because, you know, they usually want you to use that because it's harder for you to get the money back. But there are things that you can go through to see if you can regain your information. And there are additional resources that we have here listed as well that you can print out for your participants while you're teaching that this particular leader lesson. And then we have another piece of information that will be helpful, and it is a booklet. It's called Identity Theft, How to Prevent It and What to Do If You Are a Victim. And it comes through the Tennessee Division of Consumer Affairs. Let's see if we can make it a little larger here. It goes through a lot of tips, pieces of advice that you can adhere to help you keep your financial credibility secure. So this is a really nice guide to be able to go to or refer people to, in addition to the resources that Misty and I have prepared in the PowerPoint. There's also a slide that has our references. And then the page that I just showed you that has the additional resources to go to and the updates and so forth. And then this one is a pretty good reference guide as well for keeping yourself financially safe and secure. And Misty is going to go over the last piece of our leader lesson presentation.
All right. So after you've completed the lesson, be sure to provide all of your participants with the evaluation and give them time to complete it. Make sure that you collect the evaluations and turn them into your FCS agent in your county. So this is our lesson, Scams and Schemes, Don't Be Fooled. Are there any questions?
Well, is it okay if I show real quick what happened to me real quick? There was an ad on Facebook, and it was for a mini saw, and it was for $30. And I said, oh, that sounds great. Well, I sent for this mini saw that has a case. It said it had a case and everything. I said, wow, this is great. So anyhow, what did I get in the mail? I got a portable saw blade chain with a handle on it. It's supposed to be a carbon chainsaw blade. And this is what came. And oh yeah, it had a case with it. You know, they didn't lie about that. However, I did file a complaint with the consumer. It's email fraud, and I also filed a complaint with PayPal, which is the company went through PayPal. Thank goodness. I did use a credit card. I did get my money back. I fought it, and fight it. If you know, don't ever let it go. Just fight it. It was for $42, but hey, $41 is $41. So if it ever happened, you know, if that ever happened, fight it. And this comes from a foreign country because it took forever to come. And so this is one of the scams that I got. And also in my email, I got an email that was sent from me to me. And it said, I'm waiting for my payment. I'm going, what? So anyway, it was saying that, oh, I've been watching you and I've got some, you know, I'm waiting for you to pay me off. And I just deleted it. And I talked to my my provider, and they said, no, your email has not been hacked to that point. And they said, just don't answer it, just blow it away. And I said, I did, but I just wanted to let you find out, make sure that it wasn't hacked. So anyway, but you get things like that, just erase them, just blow them out. Don't answer them, because that's, here we go, phishing again. So, but these are my experiences. And I said, oh, let me share this with you, because they said, don't go on Facebook. Don't buy anything off Facebook, because it's very, very misleading. And they even sent a picture of the saw in my receipt. So they didn't send this picture. They sent the picture of the real saw, you know. Mm-hmm. But anyway, but that's, but anyhow, but I did, like I said, fight it. And I got my money back, you know, so. Anyway.
Wendy, thank you so much for sharing that. I know personally, since the pandemic, calls to my phone, my personal cell phone, have just really increased. And, you know, I get phone calls from the IRS in Texas, and, you know, I have actually talked to the person who does my taxes and told her about that. And she has, explained that they're not going to call me in that way. They're going to send me a letter, and I know that. So, you know, let's just all be very careful. Please use this information that Misty and Kimberly have come up with. It's wonderful, timely information that we all need to be aware of. and then share it with others because we need to help protect each other. Y'all did a great job presenting that, Misty and Kim. Do we have any other comments or any questions or ideas about schemes and scams?
I was just going to say, I don't think they knew who they were wrestling with when they contacted Ms. Wendy Drum. So you followed the course, and you fought back, and
yes,
that's great. And that would be considered a sales scam. So glad that you went at it the way you did, so that you can, you're tough and you're resilient there. So good job.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. We have one last thing. Those are all of our leader lessons that we have to present to you today. I want to personally thank all of the extension agents that have worked collectively to develop these leader lessons. In some cases, it was just the presenters that presented today. In other cases, it was a variety of FCS agents working together. And so I'm just really proud of our family consumer science agents in our central region. You all always do a wonderful job and give great research-based information. Y'all know me, it wouldn't be a meeting if we didn't play a game. And so the very last thing that we need to do is, we're always looking for topics. And, if you're in this meeting, you must enjoy presenting leader lessons. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a game called Waterfall. And basically what that is if you can put it in the chat, I'm going to ask you what topics you would like to see in the future. And then we will save the chat and they will be sent to the different leadership teams so that we can start working on leader lessons for next year. So what leader lesson topics would you like to see in the future? Everybody go, start typing those into the chat. We want a waterfall of ideas. I hear people typing, but I don't see things coming in yet. So here we go. Great, thank you. All great topics coming in. Agents, isn't this a great idea? Don't we need this information? Oh, that's a fun one. I love the topics too, Brenda. Great job, Wanda. Oh, that's sad. Yes, that's a good topic too. Okay, I'm going to give just a few seconds for y'all to get in your other topics. Wonderful. Because we can come up with the topics all day long, but we need topics that interest you. We think sometimes that the topics are going to be good for you, or maybe it's a topic you need to hear, but we want you to be excited about these topics, because if you're not excited, you're not going to present them to other people. Okay, now I'm going to put my email in the chat. Most of you should have it. If you come up with any topics throughout the year or throughout the next coming hours or days, you can email that to me. And you can also send it to your extension agent as well. If I am not your agent, I do have at least one of my members here with us. So I want to thank you all again for attending this session. Thank you to our presenters. And we're going to leave this room, and I'm not quite sure if there's anything else going on in the main stage or not. So thank you all so much, and y'all have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Shelley.